I do have a question though. Out of the 4 men, who was your favorite? Who would
Oh,
you
this is like
stay
such a
with?
question.
I know.
Sorry?
If you had to choose, which one would you go with?
What happens when a media personality and a sex therapist grab a mic? You get Spill the Tea, where the tea is hot, the truths are unfiltered, and things sometimes get downright steamy. From sex and relationships to life's messy, hilarious, and shocking realities. Will Nash and Maria Orrego aren't holding back. It's about to get deliciously messy.
I guess this kind of works as like a part two.
Definitely a part 2. Yes.
So the last time we recorded together, I had watched the show, this phenomenon, Heated Rivalry, probably like twice. If I don't remember.
Oh my god.
Had I watched it twice when I talked to you last or no?
I don't know, but have you actually seen it twice already?
Yeah, I'm actually on my third viewing right now.
Oh my god, I love this. Okay.
So the thing is a little behind the scenes, and to be quite honest, I actually don't remember. The last episode is kind of like a blur because it was a couple weeks ago. You were a little on the fence. You were a little slow to jump on the HR bandwagon. I would even go as far as saying, correct me if I'm wrong, ahead of recording the episode. And then I went into full pitch mode and you were like, okay, shut up, Will. I will watch this. I will watch the show that will at least, every gay man and most straight women and even just everyone else outside of that has been talking about. And so where do we start? Where do we start with this? So what actually made you sit down and watch it? Because so many times like stuff, you see stuff in your feed, you see stuff in your For You page, and it's like the interest just isn't there, right? What pulled you in to wanting to go and sit down and spend 6 hours of your life watching this TV series?
Okay, so yes, the hype train was real. I'm not great at joining hype trains when it comes to TV shows. Sports and big games, championships, stuff like that, 100%. I will totally just I'm such a bandwagoner. But when it comes to shows, I'm very skeptical about whether or not they're going to be good or not. And it is very hard for me to turn off my therapist brain watching shows sometimes. So that's kind of like the disclaimer as to why. What convinced me was how passionate you were about it, and the fact that you were so passionate about Schitt's Creek and then passionate about this. And I loved Schitt's Creek. I was like, okay, I feel like this is a good recommendation, so I will watch it. And I loved hearing the queer community talk about it in such a beautiful way. So I was curious. I was curious as to why this show made such a difference for so many people. And then yeah, I got sick and I was caught up on work and caught up on everything I needed to do. And I was just kind of sitting and I'm like, well, I may as well watch it then. And I binge watched the entire show. I think it took me 3 days, but for me, that's binging. That was a lot.
No, it's true. And you mentioned one thing there off the top where it was like the whole Schitt's Creek thing, right? So I feel like the really only commonality between these two shows is Canadian queer stories that are being told, right?
Yeah.
But what I appreciate with both of those series, though we are focusing on a Heated Rivalry, is just that, right? With both of those shows, the commonality is that you're not getting stereotypical for what mainstream society thinks is a gay romance or a queer love story. So that's what I appreciate, and honestly fell for both of those shows in that way. So I mean, it's interesting. Like I feel like for me, what pulled me into this series, and again, I'm on my third watch,
And you're reading the
and I'll
book.
explain to you why I'm on my third watch, is because but what pulls you in, or what pulls a lot of us in, is the sex, is the steaminess, is the, I feel, even the resistance, which happens at the beginning of this show or
Mhm.
of this book. And it's like, what queer person, or even just any identity, can't relate to that topic of like feeling, passionate or lusty about someone or something, and either not being able to perform it or not letting go and letting those inhibitions run wild. And I mean, again, like if you haven't watched Heated Rivalry yet, if you are the last person on the planet to not have watched it, go watch it, then come back. But I think that although this takes place over 10 years, a reminder, this is over 10 years, there's so much obviously there's so much that, will get you a little flushed and warm, depending, I guess. But then there's also that sort of thing of like episodes 5 and 6. Like
Yeah.
that is, and you might not believe me if you're listening to this podcast right now, but truly it's episodes 5 and 6 as to why I have rewatched it, or as to why every time I get the Heated Rivalry edits on my Instagram, I will stop what I'm doing and watch it, like, because it really is the emotions of it all for me that kind of ties it all together. Like, because you liked it, right? Like, let's ask you, you did enjoy it?
I did. I really did. I will say, yes, like at the beginning, I was like, oh my God, this is just like porn. Like we're just watching soft porn, well, mid-range porn at that point. But I did love it. And I will say I was incredibly impressed at the portrayal of queer sex. I like my partner didn't watch it with me. I ended up watching it on my own because he was at work and I was sick. And I was like, well, screw it. I'm not waiting for you. So I'm going to watch it by myself. And I watched it, and I think he just wants me to shut up about like how impressed I am at the queer sex in this, like in the series, because it's not portrayed that way. And my heart just kept thinking about that like 12, 13, 14-year-old boy that is like discovering his sexuality, and pornography doesn't really help. No one's talking about how to actually have sex. Like, what does that mean in my body? And then these guys are like portraying sex in a way that I would say most people don't know about queer men. Like, I would probably gamble that most people don't realize that queer sex is that elaborate and that beautiful and that diverse. Like, I loved that part, and the consent part, and like the time where he talks about the dildo. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like,
Well,
as a
and it's
sex therapist, I was like, this is the best thing ever.
you bring up so many points in that in regards to the concept of gay sex, queer sex, because I think in mainstream media in the past, a lot of shows that have either tried to talk about it, gay intercourse, or have tried to show it, I feel like it's not so much about even the romance or the passion or the intensity of it all. I think it's just about the actual act of what you do when you're a gay man and you're having sex with another man, which obviously a huge part of it, but there's just more that goes into that than that. Like, guess what? Like straight people, we can have feelings and there's romance there, and there is ideally, hopefully, always consent there, right? And just
Yeah.
making sure that both of you are comfortable going into it, not even just in the actual act of the sex, but like earlier on before these two love stories that are shown in the show are completed, at least within the first season. Just the sort of, okay, like if you weren't out and you're a huge superstar in the NHL, I know they call it something else, but in the NHL, the respect and the feelings of like not being able to be yourself, and feeling like, okay, like, well, no, I can't come out now because I'm at the peak of my career and I'm a huge, NHL superstar. Those sort of feelings of much, much, much smaller scale, but I think that most gay men or most queer people have had that sort of experience of like, I mean, I know I did, where you're thinking like, well, if I come out now, what if this affects my career? Or if I come out now, what if this person doesn't accept me? And then I still have to, do this thing with that person, and just the kind of the aftermath of it all. So
Mhm.
there's so many issues there that I think are brought to mainstream. And again, one of the biggest things I just love is it's like, it's not, stereotypical in any way, shape, or form. Sure, there's an element of fantasy there. Like, don't kid
Oh
yourself.
my God, yeah.
there's a huge element of fantasy, and again, I have actually started reading this, so I'm kind of doing it the opposite way. A lot of people, and even friends of mine I know, have like read the books, and now like this is so cool. They're doing such a great job at adapting the books into the TV series, right? I kind of went the other way, and I have started with the series, just because I loved. Sorry, with the books. Well, sorry, started with the series, then went to the book. That's what I'm trying to say. And it's like, I'm so impressed for how they adapted this book into the show.
Oh, great. That's awesome. Because
Because I
usually
know
it doesn't happen.
exactly. I was just gonna say, usually people are like, "Oh, they didn't really do a great job." The only thing is, in the books, which is funny because it does relate to the sex part of it all, is it's a lot more descriptive. Like, they could never be in a like it would probably be porn. Like, it could never be like a TV series that would be a very like. Because now this series is like worldwide and it's mainstream, right? Like shot in Canada, but it's blown up to crazy levels. But I mean, the description of the intercourse is like, woo, okay, yeah, I need need a little
Yeah.
cold cloth placed on my forehead after reading this for a couple of hours, right?
Why do you
Um,
think it blew up? Like, why do you think that it's so popular and everyone's like so in it right now?
That's a great question. I think there's a couple of reasons. First and foremost, I think that they already had a built-in audience
Mm,
with fans of Rachel Reed's books, right?
okay.
So
Mhm.
it was almost like, okay, there was a lot of people, a lot of fans of that series who were probably going to go and watch the show, whether it was horribly done or beautifully done, right? So that's a part of it. The other part of it is I think that like when it comes to uh queer representation, queer love stories. We've seen a lot of queer love stories on TV and on movies, right?
Cool.
There's been some really good ones, there's been some horrible ones, and there's been some mid ones, right? There
Yeah.
hasn't really been a lot on a mainstream level that have dealt with uh, sports. You really masculinity, what that means,
Sure.
and even the NHL. And they've kind of, this topic has been brought up through specifically Scott Hunter, Francois, the actor who plays him in his interviews, kind of calling out the NHL a little bit here, saying, well, listen, like, don't be advertising our show during your game if you're going to also be like slashing the pride nights and allowing people to kind of not support the community in that way. Like, you can't support it when it's shiny and then not support it when things are in the trenches, right? So I think that like that's a part of it as well too. And I think that like I think honestly, even online has really created a big buzz about it. Like, I do remember I hadn't read any of the books, I hadn't seen the show, and my friend was telling me how obsessed he was with these books, and he powered through a bunch of them like last year alone. He set himself this little reading challenge, and I was like, okay, like, but it really was the show and the nonstop talk of it that I think has hooked people in. I mean, I'll go back to what I said before. Where I think a lot of the reason why it is popular is because who doesn't like something sexy or who doesn't like something that granted I understand that it's not going to turn everybody on who's watched this show, but I think that there's also the element for like the straight women who are watching this show where I think a lot of the straight women are pulled into this show because of the way that the characters are treating each other.
Yeah.
Like, the
Yeah.
consent, the love, the sort of like, the ways that, like, all 4 men, both couples, have that sort of, like, even if, like, okay, like, there's definitely some communication issues and some toxic things that happen along the way, at the end, you see the changes and you see the progression in these men,
Mm.
especially the ones who resisting, whether it was sexuality, whether it was love, whether it was being closeted, whether it was holding back, and I think that, like, all of these men sort of offer each other that.
Mhm.
And I don't know, like, let me throw it back to you. Why do you think this show has been popular? Like, you obviously have just seen it, so you have maybe some fresher thoughts than even I do.
I honestly, and maybe this is like perhaps strange to say, but I think it's incredibly relatable. I think for women, it's relatable of how they want to be loved and how they want to be seen and how they even like want to be touched, perhaps, like the idea of that flirtiness and that mystery and this like the spontaneity, all that stuff. And then for the queer community, honestly, I think it's the first time we've seen a representation of queer couples that are um, athletes. Like, I don't know if I've seen very many, like, I wanna say, like, maybe this ages me, but maybe Friday Night Lights had one, but, like, I
Yeah.
actually don't even know if I remember them being, like, a I don't know,
I know, I think there was, I don't know, there's been I feel like there's been a couple of shows that have featured, like, maybe if you have, like, 6 straight couples, then there's, like, one that's a gay couple, right? But
Yeah.
not to the where the whole focus is around it. Yeah, you're right.
No, and I feel and this might be ignorant to say, but I feel like the way that we portray queer men couples is always in the sense of, like, we very much focus on the character like in Schitt's Creek, where it's more of that, like, 80s, like, flamboyant, fun, like, you know what I mean? Like, more loud in that sense, and the way they portrayed this like, these 2 queer couples was just so beautiful that it can have that diversity, and it's about time that we show that you don't have to be one way or another, right? It's the same way when, like, they portray lesbians, it's like, you don't have to be a masculine lesbian to be a lesbian. Do you know what I mean? Like, those kinds of stereotypes really bother me when it comes to TV shows, and I really loved how they didn't fall into any of the stereotypes. At least I didn't think so.
Well, and you know what's funny? You actually hit a point on the head there. And as you were speaking, I was thinking about the characters in Heated Rivalry. I was thinking about the characters you mentioned in Schitt's Creek, but I was also thinking about, I mean, myself, and I was thinking about other people I know who've had that sort of struggle and like the stigmatism of with, coming out and what it means to be gay and all this and whatever. But I remember myself like being very young and kind of like dealing with my emotions, kind of starting my journey and then just being like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't really relate to at the time, like, say, like in, like the 90s, I don't really relate to a lot of those images, portrayals in the media that were so-called gay because they were more of a not everyone, but most of them were more of a stereotype, right? And if you didn't feel like you fit like a certain image in terms of how you dressed or how you spoke or what you listened to or who you hung out with or if you went to gay clubs or drag shows or parties or whatever it was, like then you're like, well, like what actually does it mean to be gay? Because even for me, like I, as a kid and as like a young adult, a young teenager, like no one was there, saying, okay, so if you are gay, this is what it means.
Yeah.
Right? I know it sounds funny, but it's
No, but it's
true.
true.
Like,
It's
who do you
so
when you're
true.
closeted and, when you're closeted and you're trying to figure it out, you're trying to figure yourself out, you're trying to find yourself. And because listen, like me, one gay man, I can pick up the phone, call a friend of mine who's also gay, two completely different stories, right? We're going to relate on a certain level, but like his journey is going to be different than mine. Um, so yeah, I agree. And I think that that's the thing. It's like we're still looking at in, I mean, really all four cases, very masculine
Yeah.
men, not hetero men, but
No.
very masculine men,
Yeah.
right? And as a gay man, in terms of like looks, like purely attraction, I tend to find men who present that way personally more like attractive to me over
Yeah.
someone who might be a different way. Not that I haven't been attracted to effeminate guys or haven't been attracted to like
Yeah.
extroverted and flamboyant guys. Like for sure I have, but I find that in terms of like the aesthetic, like that's what I find attractive. And obviously I'm not alone.
No, not
and,
at all.
but even from like, I mean, everything goes like marketing is a big part of things too. Right. And the marketing has been huge for this. So, I mean, when you're casting a show like this, like obviously, yes, you're wanting your core audience is gay men. But I mean, you always talk about this, like, girls and gays only, right? I mean, they're like that is very influential in terms of the audience. And you throw hockey in there, and
Yeah.
it's like, I'm not saying that if you're having a night with the boys, you're going to gather around and watch HR, but you're pulling from all different walks of life, right? So I think all of these are reasons as to why. the
Yeah.
show has been so popular.
I will
Yeah,
say,
like
though, I found it really hilarious because I mean, growing up in Canada, most of my friends played hockey. Obviously, like, we're surrounded by it, right? I don't know how many hockey players I know that are that hot, by the way. So, like, if anyone's watching
okay.
from, like, around the world and think that we have men that look like that on a regular basis, I'm gonna say we don't. At
You
least
know what,
not.
Maria? This is good. This is good news because, well, good information because here I am, like, scouting out the local arenas trying to find a boyfriend, and you're telling me, I'm not going to find Ilya Rozanov. I'm not going to find Scott Hunter.
I mean, not in the arenas I've been at, and I grew up in a town that, like, hockey was the thing. Like, every Friday night we went, even, like, from
Yeah.
elementary school until high school, like, we went and we cheered on our team, like, the whole thing. Like, I can say I grew up in a hockey town. I can say, like, I've dated hockey players, like, the whole thing. I don't know if I could say that there's that many that look like that. No. Like, I mean, maybe that's, like, my experience, and that, like, if someone's listening and saying, like, "No, I found a rink that has all these hot men," great. But
I mean, listen, there's some hot men in the NHL. Like, let's not kid ourselves, right?
yeah, most of them are toothless. Like that's
Okay. Yeah,
where they go
okay,
show.
yeah, fair, fair. I mean, you know what, maybe that's what I should do. Well, if you're listening to this right now, this podcast, let us know who you think who's a hot player in the NHL because I have a couple of friends who I know would come with names. But you're right. There is a lot of that. Um,
They didn't show any of that in the show. There was no, like, toothless men in the show,
no,
no,
that's true.
like right?
That's
No
true.
hockey haircuts.
But
Did you
here's
do
the other
any
thing too,
hockey
right?
haircuts?
Is it's like one of these things. The other thing that's interesting too is above and beyond the steaminess, even above and beyond, the physicality and the looks of these men, these actors who are portraying the characters from the Heated Rivalry books. The other thing that I think is making this for me such a success and such a hit and really it's factoring in the rewatch is I feel like you feel so intensely the journeys that all of these characters are going on.
So
And I
much.
remember, specifically with the Kip and Scott story, when it's Kip's birthday and you see Scott, I know, like standing outside of the bar, wanting so bad to go in and being in love with Kip, right? But not being able to. And I remember in my first like gay relationship, and I wasn't out
Mhm.
and the guy that I was dating and he had said to me like he however long it took for me to come out he would be there for me and then time went on we were together for I think like 7 months and then that he kind of hit that point where he was like okay I know I've said this but like he really struggled understanding why I was not out at that point um and that's ultimately what ended that relationship, right?
Mhm.
And I wasn't ready to be public with the relationship with this person, living in a small city at the time too. So that's a relatable, right? Or even like, when Shane, is sort of caught at the cottage by his dad, and then they go into talk to the parents. It's like, wow, like even the moment where as a gay person, you just assume the dad goes back, talks to the mom, his wife, and is like, look what I just walked into. And the fact that his dad didn't say anything at that point, right? Like that was so emotional. But then they sit down, they have this conversation. He essentially comes out to his parents, like officially comes out to his parents, and the mom walks out and she embraces her son. And it's just like, man, like, I mean, she was like a Kris Jenner momager in this show.
My God,
But
yeah.
like when it came to the like she was the kind of she gave the response that I think I know I would have liked to hear.
I agree. At first, I really didn't like her because I was like, "Please back off your child. Like, he is
Yeah.
dealing with a lot." But
Yeah.
that scene to me, it was interesting because there was a moment that I was like, "Why is she making it about herself?" And then
Mhm.
I realized, like, as a mother, the last thing you want is for your kid to be scared or nervous or not come to you when they're hurt, when something happened, anything. And there was a moment where I think that one scene was really telling of how moms feel, of that idea of like,
Mm.
I wish you would have come to me. Like, I'm not mad that you're gay. I'm mad that I parented in a way that you would be scared to tell me. Like that was very resonating. I also love that she got up and just started making dinner. Like, that was also such a mom mood. It's like, I have to feed you. Like, I don't know what to do with this information, so I'm just gonna feed you now.
Uh,
Like, I don't know what to
no,
do.
that's true, and I also loved, like, just going back to when they were outside the cottage or outside the house having that conversation, how it was, like, it was a very emotional, like, gut-wrenching scene between Shane and his mom, but then it was like, "Okay, let's enough of this." Like, I mean, let's move on in, let's go back in and finish the rest of our evening, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just there's just so much. I mean, I could just gush and gush and gush about the show. I think that the other thing was too is I don't honestly, correct me if you remember, I don't, but like when I watched it the first time, I definitely had all the feelings. And when I went back in to watch it again, I was like, well, like whatever, like especially with episodes 5 and 6, I'm not going to be emotional because I was emotional during episode 5 and episode 6, but I was more emotional when I went back for the rewatch. And I think it's because I knew what was coming and I knew the emotions that were evoked the first time.
Yeah.
So I am, and I by the way, if you're listening, I do other things besides watch Heated Rivalry, but like it's been a damn fucking cold winter where I am. So there's lots of nights where I can't go out and I can't do anything, right?
No, it's so true.
Um,
It is a TV winter for sure, where it's like everyone's just inside, which is also like Heated Rivalry came out at the greatest time ever for
oh
us
my God.
Americans. The
It's
one
yeah,
thing
so
I
what I was
will
gonna say was like I'm like halfway through my third watch and I haven't yet hit episodes 5 and 6. So I don't know again because I've spent so much time talking about it, often on the podcast, texting with friends about it, asking them if they've seen it, asking them what they thought. Is acting like I work for the show the way I've been pitching it for people to go and watch this damn show. That's the thing with me, right? If I'm into something, you're gonna know I'm into it. That's just like whether you like it or not, it's cool. But I'm just like, it was like Wicked or it was like anything. It's anything that I'm passionate about. The other thing I want to mention too, which actually I think is a really big part of the show and how it
yeah.
was produced. And I don't know if you felt the same or not, was the music, the soundtrack. Did you pick
Okay,
up on anything?
no. So what's really funny is that everyone's talking about the music.
Hmm.
I don't think I, like, clued into the music at all. Again, I think I was so enthralled with the accuracy and the beauty of how they depicted the relationships, and I was
Yeah.
just so excited for the fact that people were getting a real taste of what the queer community goes through, that the
Yeah.
rest of it just didn't mean anything. No, I don't remember much of the music. I will say, though, one of the things that fully stood out to me was how incredible the female characters, the friends were, especially
Oh,
the girl that
yes.
dated Shane. Like, I was just again, like, I was screaming by myself at home of, like, just how beautiful those relationships were and how amazing these female allies were, enough to, like, "Don't worry, I got your back. Don't worry, I know this is the feeling. Like, I'm not offended, I'm not hurt, this isn't about me." Like, the maturity of some of those characters was incredible.
It's such an interesting conversation too, because ahead of watching that episode, I want to say it was episode number 4, the one that you're talking about with when he was trying to date this, actress, right?
Yeah.
Again, just the whole like experience of that, just being a gay man or being a bisexual man, if you are defining that way. Trying to make sure that you've almost like exhausted every that feeling of like, okay, well, like I'm gonna exhaust every option before I realize or say out loud that I'm not interested in having a relationship with a woman, or I cannot have a relationship with a woman in that way, right? So like feeling those things of like having to have that conversation with her. And I actually was told that that episode was going to be emotional. I thought that that part was the emotional part, but there was so much more to come after that as well. But you're right, like as a gay man to be dating a woman, a woman testing out the waters with that, and then her being like, "I know, I know that you're not interested in me in that way, but I love you
Yeah.
and we're going to be close and I want to hear all about it." And I would assume that would not be easy to deal with. right? That's such an interesting topic too, because this is a little above and beyond Heated Rivalry, but like the conversation of people who are in relationships that, and years later they explode because one of the partners ends up being gay or ends up living a secret life outside of the marriage. Obviously, it didn't get that far with Shane in the series, but I mean, just the sensitivity that she had towards that situation. And
And
I
it was
mean, I can see
beautiful.
Shane's eyes tearing up at that restaurant table in that conversation, and just feeling, again, like feeling his intensity, feeling his emotion. Kind of, most of us have been through, so maybe not that exact same scenario, but something similar, where it's like you have that realization of like, okay, I've been denying it, but she's right. I
Yeah.
just, it's like facing the music and that reality of what that's going to look like for him, and where does he go from there.
But also, how awesome was it that it didn't get toxic? Like, other scenes like that have happened in other movies or other shows where, like, the
Yeah.
man gets, like, nervous and then he gets angry and he, like, blames her, tells her she's crazy, right? There's the gaslighting. In this scene, he just kind of, like, sat there and he's like, "Yeah, you're right." And it was just so beautiful to see a very masculine man accept responsibility for what he had done, apologize, show love, and, just be okay with what just happened, being called out, right? The first time somebody actually called him out on it, he didn't react with anger or toxicity. It was really cool to see that, honestly, and it's about time we see more of that in
It's
television.
true. No, and I agree with you on that. The one thing I'll say though is that I think that had that conversation happened earlier, when he wasn't yet starting to accept who he was, I think that could have gone a different way, right? Because
Sure.
I think that like he was at least at that point where he was looking at her and thinking like, "Oh man, like she knows. Like she's
Yeah,
caught me. She
yeah.
knows." But yet she was, like you said, bringing that up in a very equally respectful way, where he was emotional, and then he's like, okay, now I have to figure all of this stuff out, because he knows what's going on behind closed doors, right?
Yeah.
Or with Ilya, like he knows what's happening there. But it's weird how this is something that obviously I've experienced, and I'm sure a lot of queer people have too, where it's like when you're starting, either being intimate or having a relationship with someone that's authentic and that's true, when you're not out and you're spending time with someone in that way, there is a high. Like, don't kid yourself. There is a high, as much as it's a little fucked up. There is a high that you're doing something that you're not supposed to do, or from like society standards, right? Because I remember that too, and it's just kind of
Word.
like, and you're like, but it's weird. It's a weird sort of like thing that happens where you're just like, this is really like hot and this is really exciting. But at
Yeah.
the same point, like it's kind of crazy because, I'm keeping this to myself, and maybe I don't want to keep all this to myself.
I do agree with that, and I'm actually curious to see how the story progresses because I wonder how much of the mystery and the secrecy had to do with their, like, passion and the sex and the
Oh,
lust. Because a lot of relationships go through that, right? Where it's, like, a secret, it's mystery, it's spontaneous, and this is any relationship, and then it kind of, like, lulls because now it's public or now it's, like, a daily
yeah.
thing, right? And so I'm curious to see how they do that. Now, I do have a question, though. Out of the 4 men, who was your favorite?
Oh, this
Who
is
would
like
you stay
such a
with?
question.
I know.
Sorry.
If you had to choose, which one would you go with?
So I am torn.
Okay.
I am torn between Scott Hunter
Mhm.
and Ilya Rozanov.
Oh, wow, okay. That's
Yeah, I am
that's a
torn.
different vibe.
Two completely different vibes. Um, I mean, Scott Hunter is just like sexy. Like he's just, I mean, he's sexy. Like you've seen, his Under Armour outfit on. I'm like, try it on me, right? Come on, right? We're talking purely physical here. He just has that like, I really like dark features,
Okay, yeah.
like dark hair, facial hair, that sort of a thing. Beautiful eyes. He has all of that. Um, But there's something intriguing. Okay, there's something with Ilya. There's something that, and so it's also related to him as his the actor as a person, and some of the press that I've seen with Connor stories too. Right,
Yeah.
he's completely different from
So
who he
different.
is. Like he's so bubbly and airy and upbeat, and but he's such like so different as Ilya. But I mean, I feel like everyone kind of likes that battle or that little fight with things, right? I mean,
There's a
is he like a bad boy? I don't know if he's a bad boy or if he's just gone through a lot, right? Um, but
He's been
I
through a lot.
enjoy both of them a lot. I mean, I enjoy all of them, but if you're saying I can't narrow it down to one, it depends on the day who I'm going to choose. And most days it's tied with Ilya and Scott Hunter. Um, I don't know. Does that make sense?
No, it totally does make sense. It's also like it's lovely because now I'm like, "Oh, I wonder what kind of, like, sex personality you have," because those are 2 very different men, just in the way they presented themselves in the show, right? They have
I
very
know they are, but it's like,
personalities.
it's like, so that's the thing too, is like, it's not just the characters,
Right.
it's also like the actors. So for instance, like I
Uh,
talked about Connor's story, but then talking about the actor Francois, I can never pronounce his like last name, but he's kind of he's calling things out in his interviews about, again, like the NHL, and he's being very direct. And like I saw him on Andy Cohen, like Watch What Happens Live, and Andy Cohen's always trying to get like the tea, right? And he's just like, so like, are you single? And he's like, that's none of your fucking business.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it was just like the way that he said it was, I was like, okay, you are just absolutely on fire, right?
So when they
Um,
start filming season 2 in Hamilton, are you just gonna come stay in Hamilton and just, like,
Do
circle the
you have
block?
if you have a couch, I'll just, like, crash it because, I mean, yeah, like, that's just
Oh my god,
I
imagine.
know, so I don't know, it's like, do you have a favorite out of the 4 guys? Like, do you want
I would say that the most, like, personality-wise, definitely Scott Hunter. I think that would be, like, the one I'd be most attracted to. My younger self probably would have been attracted to Ilya, and I've healed a lot since then. So,
Yeah.
I no longer love that. Yeah, I think so, but, like, wanting to be friends, I would love to be friends with Kip. Like, he's just so cool. I just love his personality. I just find
No, I
him
know, I mean, he's a short king, but he's
yeah,
very sweet, and I mean,
yeah.
abs for days, right? And, like, he's just, you're talking, like, purely physical. The one thing I found too is in talking with a lot of my other female friends is I have found a lot of women, not all women, but a lot of them have been gravitating towards Shane, and because of it's the sensitivity that he
Oh, yeah.
offers, why a
Yeah.
lot of, like, as has been explained to me, why a lot of women are attracted to Shane, especially as the show goes on, right?
Yeah.
You're not feeling Shane? You're not a Hollander fan?
No, but no. I mean, I think he's great. I think he's a great character, and I love him as a character. Do I find him attractive? No. And
Yeah.
I don't find his personality attractive either. I don't
Oh, interesting.
know. I no. I like
You
more like
yeah, you just think he'd be a lot of work as a partner.
I feel like I'd go into therapy mode, like, I'd be wanting to, like, fix him the whole time, you know? Like, I don't yeah, no, I don't think that would be no. Also, how old are these humans? Because they look like they're 12.
Well, off the top of my head, I mean, I know I just sound like this crazy stalker, but, um, Scott Hunter, like well, in real life is 40. And I
Okay.
know that Connor Story, aka Ilya Roznov, is 25. So I actually just saw this photo today because again, just constantly obsessed. Yeah, chronically online more now because of Heated Rivalries. If I wasn't on there enough, there was a photo. There's been a couple times where those two have been seen with each other,
Ooh.
but it's like people are just being stupid. Like, oh, how can like they be hanging out together? Like this guy's 25, he's 40. So what? It's not like he's under 18. You know what I mean? Like it's like they're getting. It's like I mean, hey, I would not. I that would be great if they did get together, but
And how many 40-year-old men are with 25-year-old women? Like, what the hell? That's ridiculous.
well,
You
see,
can
again, you're bringing up like another thing, right? Where it's like people almost act like they have like a hold on these people because of that. But
yeah,
it's
weird.
the biggest problem is though is that we have to probably wait so long until we're getting season 2.
I'm surprised there's gonna be a season 2, to be honest. I don't know how they're gonna continue it. I get, like, there's obviously more story, but from, like, a hype perspective, I'd just leave it with the win. Like, like, that's it.
The
'Cause
thing
you
is,
know
so I
that
feel like with that
season
first, like, it's a mini series, right? Like, it's only
yeah,
6, or yeah, what do they call it? Like, not a mini series or mini episodes or whatever it is. There's only 6 episodes. I think that I feel like it's truly just begun. And even the way that they ended that final episode, where like for what, like 2 minutes, you're watching them drive off sort of into the sunset.
yeah,
And now that they've kind of had all these big reveals and everything is sort of like out there, and then even with, Kip and Scott, right? That big moment at the end of the game, that had happened where he won and brought him down to
yeah,
the ice, and it's just kind of like boom, 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 like your heart's just pounding like a mile a minute. I mean, I'm cheer like now I'm just loving all of the attention that these actors are getting. I love that it's a Canadian production. I
yeah.
love that they're all very different in how they're like having these interviews or putting that content out there. Um,
It's pretty awesome. It is
yeah.
pretty great. The one that I loved was seeing, and I think I told you this, I love seeing our prime minister with Shane's the actor that plays Shane, I don't remember his name. I really loved that one. I thought it was really cute. I love that everyone's getting into it. It's such a beautiful thing. And hockey is our like it's part of our culture. So it's really cool to see that everyone's really getting behind it. And I'm
You
curious
know
to see what happens.
You know what's interesting too, and I think I meant to mention this earlier in the show, and I think I went on to something else, but you talked about the whole fact of like, well, we had talked about the concept of like hockey and sports and just the stigmas and the stereotypes that exist within and around it. I mean, listen, like all jokes aside, I was never great at sports or, gym or all of those things. And I think that a lot, well, I can speak for myself when I say a lot, like gay men, some gay men, myself included, have a very like weird, um, I don't, maybe trauma or like
Mhm.
history
Mhm.
of organized sports
Mhm.
and where that plays into how masculine you're identified in, how it makes you feel,
Yeah.
whether you're like in the change room or whether you're on the ice or you're on the diamond.
Yeah.
So that's interesting too, because I
Yeah.
do remember being young in school and that feeling of being picked last, how that made you feel. And because there's that sense of inadequacy there, right? Because like sports is especially with men and women, but like men early on are sort of like taught to be like it's so defining of you as a person, right?
Yeah.
So that's something else I thought I was thinking of those moments too, and it's nice to see people represented in something that's not typically thought of as skills that every gay man possesses.
It's
You know where I'm going with this, right?
For sure, I agree, because it's also, like, the locker room, the things that they talk about, what you like, the way that maybe coaches treat you, the conversations that happen, right, about sex, women, whatever it is, right? And if you don't represent that way, then it would be very difficult, right? It would be
And,
very
and let's, I mean, how many times, if you're listening to this right now and you are an athlete or you're on an organized team, have people been called fruity, gay, a fairy, an
Yeah,
F slur,
yeah,
all of the above and many more because they were not good in that world and in that environment,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I know some of those words are funny, like fruity or sissy are perceived funny in 2026, but it's like there is that sort of thing, which I don't know. Like Rachel Reed, to me, she's incredible, and it's like I wonder if any of that went into play, like while she was
Mhm.
writing these stories, and it's yeah, one thing that's happening, so I'm kind of like going all over the place, but one thing that's happening on TikTok right now is you're seeing these photos of these young gay or bisexual men saying like, if only I would have had heated rivalry when I was growing up. And then you kind of flip to the next photo and it's a photo of these young gay boys in organized sports. So I'm like, I mean, I did attempt soccer. I mean, I was more looking forward to the orange slices,
Yeah,
uh, in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I'm joking. I'm serious, but I'm joking. But it's nice to see that, right? For
I
those little boys who are identifying as gay,
know.
bisexual, however they're identifying, and getting this story on screen and seeing themselves in these characters and in these lives. Yeah, that was just something I wanted to bring up earlier, but I never got around to it.
I'm curious though. I'm curious how much it has actually changed the hockey culture. Because
Mm.
again, being around it for so long, it's a hard sell. And I'd be curious. There's people that I have in mind that I would love to ask if they've seen it, and like I'd love to hear their reaction to even me suggesting it as a show they should watch. Like I'm curious because the toxic masculinity is a huge part of hockey culture, unfortunately, right? So. It it would be interesting to see what some coaches are actually saying and thinking about this show.
I was joking about it. I think I even did a reel about this, saying like my new favorite pastime is asking straight men if they watch Heated Rivalry.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it would be I mean, if they were honest, I wonder what they would say. I have
I
a
mean,
feeling.
I have had some men in my life who, do not define as gay,
Yeah,
and I've asked them about the show, and I know a couple of friends of mine have watched it with their wives or the girl that
yeah,
they're seeing right now, and I mean, I am, fortunate in the sense that most of the men that I consider friends or close friends who are not gay or queer, are at least presumably open-minded, right? In terms of like, okay, like,
yeah,
okay, like they were like, I mean, how are they gonna fuck again? Or are we gonna move on from this, right? But it's like I also have that sense
oh
of
my
as
god.
much as I'm a passionate person and I use my voice, I still have a sense of humor about it all too, right? And that's
Of
what I'm like, well,
course.
listen, and so what if they do fuck again? How many times have I seen men and women do this for the last 45 fucking years?
Seriously, it's so true. It is funny how people have, like, a problem with it, right? But then it's like, we see this all the time in other movies, and it's okay when what is it? The Hunting Wives, where it has, like, 2
Okay.
lesbians that ma like, that's
Yes.
okay. No one's complaining about that, but
I
the
wonder, it's true. No one's complaining about that. And I mean, I think 5 years ago, a show like this would have been different
oh, yeah.
in terms of, I don't know. Like, I wonder if, like, as shitty as the world is right now, specifically the States, but even trickling here, it's like, the point is like, if something is bringing you joy, and so, and your version of joy might be different than my version of joy, right? Just let people enjoy it because I think that like at the end of the day when you go home from work you want to zone out a little bit and it's making you feel things hopefully in all the right ways.
Yeah,
um
and
it's
it's
like
giving
that's why
hope.
yeah, I don't know, that's
I think it's
something
giving
to be
people
noted.
I think that's what it is. It's giving people hope that there is good still out there. Like, I mean, I always say this to like, and you were in theater. Theater is supposed to give you that time to think and to give you hope and kind of like break down the stereotypes, right? Or the social constructs. This show did that. And I think it's wonderful. It's wonderful that people are actually excited. They're happy about it. There's great conversation. There's like spiciness happening again. Like
Yeah.
considering everything the world is going through right now, this show is giving everybody a little bit of that light need of just fun. And if people are having sex again, good for you. I like applaud you because that is necessary. If people had more sex, we probably wouldn't be here right now as a
You know what? That's very true. And the other thing that's funny with this too is that like I don't know where I would be. And not just necessarily Heated Rivalry, but I don't know where I would be if we didn't have, whether it's a TV show,
Mhm,
music, movie, a book,
mhm,
physical art. Like if we didn't have art, a
mhm.
creativity in the world, which maybe that's something completely different, but it's like I don't know honestly how well I would be doing
Yeah,
and how I would have gotten this far, like, even in life, because I feel like it really is like it's a form of therapy in a sense, right? I'm not saying sit in front of your TV for 12 hours every night, but just like if you give yourself those little nuggets of entertainment, and that's why I think I'll say it's related because it's also Canadian. Like last week, we just found out, which completely caught me off guard, the loss of Catherine O'Hara, right? And I don't know, certain celebrity deaths have hit me harder than others, but for her, it was like, I just thought she was, and I don't think I sound stupid when I say this. I think you'll know what I mean. I just always thought she was going to be there.
Yeah. No, I did too. That one hit me hard when I read it. I thought it was one of those um joke ones where it's just like, what is going
Yeah.
on? And then that one hurt. That one really did hurt.
And another thing that I thought was really cool in tying this into the LGBTQ plus community is that like she was an ally without necessarily, I guess, protesting,
Mhm.
right? Like there was you just knew that she was, right? Like she was just yeah, so that's still one I'm just like, man, I cannot believe that she is gone. And I mean, she was just so humble in
Yeah.
everything that she did. And she didn't think that she deserved to be honored.
I know. Yeah, her story, her legacy definitely I think will play out and it's showing cuz I don't know if you've noticed that it's been now like longer than a day and it's still something people are talking about. It's still people are posting, people are showing pictures, like news outlets are still showing like her stuff. Usually we get what, like 24 hours,
I
48
know.
with someone that like passes away, you can tell that she really made a huge difference in people's lives. Like I think that one, I think very much surprised a lot of people.
I can't now, and I'm almost drawing a blank. I remember on Friday afternoon, I don't know if I saw it or somebody sent it to me. I actually forget what it was, but it was almost like, is this for real? It was almost like that episode of Schitt's Creek where she was like dead on the
Yeah,
internet and it was
yeah.
a death hoax.
I know. It's funny because my partner and I both saw it, and neither of us
Yeah.
wanted to tell each other because we were like, we
Mm.
didn't want to like ruin each other's day. So like we both kept it. And then at night when we were connecting or chatting, I was like, "Hey, did you hear?" He's like, "Did you hear?" And we didn't even say the name because we had
You,
just
you
finished
couldn't say
watching.
it.
Like, yeah, and he was like, "I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want you to be sad." Like I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want you to be sad. Like it was
Well,
such a it was
and
yeah, that was
you just finished the series. You've
yeah,
just finished watching all of her all of
no.
her work, right? I know. I feel like it's yeah, I mean, not to go on about, I know I'm kind of off topic now, but it's also, I saw in my sort of scrolling on TikTok when she had given the eulogy many years ago about John Candy when he passed.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh.
fun fact, my dad went to high school with John Candy.
Oh my god, are you serious? That's
Yeah.
hilarious. I
Yeah,
love that.
little side note, my dad went
Little
to high school
side
in
notes.
Scarborough.
Our
Uh,
our heated rivalry episode has now gone everywhere. Back
it went from like, Shane and Ilya to Catherine O'Hara to
to
John
John
Candy.
Candy.
I know, but I mean, I loved John Candy, right? John
Oh
Candy
my
was
god.
amazing. But anyways, I don't know what else to say about Heated Rivalry. All that I know is that I'm going to finish watching my third viewing of it
Amazing.
probably this week, and I'll let you know if I cry again. at Heated
Please
Rivalry.
do. Please do. I would love to know if you cry again. That is amazing. Well, I do appreciate, I will say, I will end this episode by saying thank you for making me watch it. I appreciate it because I will say this is one of the shows that I fully appreciate as a human and fully appreciate as a sex therapist. This show did make my life better. So I will say that.
I'm so glad that you took my um heavy
Coercion?
pitch force of my enforcement into watching Heated Rivalry, which again, no, I get no kickback. I'm just like sharing things that I love, right? No one
Exactly.
is paying me from
Yeah.
Crave to talk about Heated Rivalry. I'm just sharing this because I loved it so much. I'm
Amazing.
glad that you loved it as well. And I'm glad that you appreciated it from even just your professional stance of how they were sharing those stories. And hey, if you're watching this, listening to this podcast right now, I would love to know your thoughts on Heated Rivalry. What did you like? What did you love? What didn't you like? You can always let us know that too. And as always, the one thing I want to say too is before we officially wrap it up is we are coming up to our anniversary show of 1 year, making it through a year of podcast episodes consistently. So that's coming up next, which I'm super excited to do that episode too.
Yes, we need cake. I want cake.
We need cake, we need streamers, we need pinatas, we need pizza, we need all the wonderful
Love
things.
it.
We have to start party planning
Oh my
with
god,
that.
that'd be great.
And Yeah. So if you have any thoughts, you want to send any thoughts about our show, our podcast last year, feel free to do so. Of course, you can follow us at the Spilled the Tea Pod on socials, subscribe, rate us 5 stars so that you get notified every time we drop an episode. Thanks for watching Heated Rivalry, Maria.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And that's the tea.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Spill the Tea. Got a burning question or a scandalous scenario? Slide into our DMs. We're ready to spill it all and maybe stir things up a little. Follow us at the Spill the Tea Pod, at Will Nash on Air, and at Sex Off the Pedestal.